Hey everybody, welcome to the philosophy of a photo artist, and we are going to talk about a lot of things today, but the big one, or maybe second big one, is, are you guys really moving from mirrorless back to a DSLR camera? Is that true? Are we ready for this? Let's do it. Everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, this is dedicated to photography as a photo artist, trying to push ourselves creatively out of the box. All right, with that out of the way, I put out a few videos, maybe at least one, sometimes two videos a week. They have to do with photography as a photo artist. We see a lot of tips and tricks in using softwares and plugins to say like Photoshop that we could use in our projects. Once a month, generally, I put out something called Saturday Sit Back and Chill, where I address some issues that you guys actually email me privately. And by the way, let me put my email address right down here at the bottom of the screen. It's stephenphotoartist@gmail.com. It's also in the show notes. So if you have any issues or questions, please feel free to email me there, because it gets top choice. And I can't answer everything. I try to cherry pick the ones that benefit the bulk of the subscribers here and viewers. So I'm now changing this to the philosophy of a photo artist as the head title, and we'll address the different issues and stuff like that you guys are emailing me. Okay, with that out of the way, I had to write this down. We're going to talk about four different things, and basically the big one in the room might be the second biggest one. But first of all, we're going to talk about, are you really leaving mirrorless cameras to go to DSLRs? We're going to talk about that. I'm going to share with you what is happening out there in the marketplace regarding that. Number two, we're going to talk about is a little bit about, I get people, when I work with them in workshops and stuff, I always ask them, what is your vision? And they always have trouble with that. So I'm going to share that. I think it should be a dedicated video, but I'm going to touch on that quickly. Number three, working with David Yarrow. We'll talk about that. I actually recorded a behind the scene type look, and actually will show you the work that I got from being inspired by his work. And that will be coming in the next few weeks. And then the big one, another one, is AI is coming in fast. And it is already affecting people in business. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too. So let's get started with the first issue, and that is DSLR cameras versus mirrorless. Are you going back from mirrorless to DSLRs? Are we ready? Let's do it. Okay, I'm going to share with you the top 5 reasons why people are moving from mirrorless back to DSLRs. And I'll express my opinion when I get to that, but I just want to jump in here really quick, and that is, I want to thank the people that have been helping and supporting this channel by going to buymeacoffee.com/StephenPhotoArtist. The information is right here at the bottom of the screen. It's also in the show notes. Let me quickly show you the website right here. When you come to the website, you're going to see you can donate for $3, 1 coffee here, or some people have gone as high as 10 coffees. I appreciate everybody that has been doing that. In fact, right here are some names of people from last month for August that helped donate to the channel. A lot of people that have been following me know that I stopped doing client work in May. I was supposed to do it last year, but Steve couldn't say no to business and that. So I put my foot down and said, that's it, I'm done. I'm very lucky and fortunate that I don't have to do something as any kind of business. I did some great investments. I can live off my investments comfortably. I'm not wealthy, but I'm not pressured to make money, say on a YouTube channel, to pay my bills, or I'm not going to be able to, pay my phone bill or whatever it is unless I do something. I'm doing this out of love of the channel, but there is an expense, and I'm in the hole on this quite a bit because I'm buying action cameras, wireless mics, and the list goes on. Photoshop, is $15 a month here in the US. The software that I use that I love, that's very powerful, I can't find anything else that does what it does, and that is by a TechSmith called Camtasia. They just went to a subscription. In other words, I was a perpetual license, now no more, and that's $15 a month. So every month it's costing me $30 plus my updates on other stuff and the equipment I bought that I have not recouped. So I appreciate the ones that are supporting the channel. And you just need to know this, any kind of little money that I make from this channel, I'm putting back into the channel to share back with you guys, okay, on different techniques and things that I learned. So again, the ones that are doing this, thank you very much. Okay, now let's get into the big topic, and that is, why are people moving? Now, again, I need to rephrase this. It's not a lot of people, but there is a movement, okay? And I'll express my opinion. A lot of this stuff is a little bit on the petty side, just my personal opinion, but they're not moving back because of one. I'm not sure the top 5 that I found out when I asked them, why did you move back? And sometimes it's a combination, again, 3 or 4, or maybe all 5 of these. Okay, so let's go through this. I had to write this down. Number 1, and I get it, it makes sense on some of these things. Number 1, people don't like the fact that the camera size is too small. That was a big deal. Oh, the cameras are smaller, lighter. Well, for some people that have bigger hands, they don't like that. They found that they're not well connected to their camera. That's what they're telling me. And it's hard for them to automatically find the dials and make the switches and stuff like that. And it just bugs them. And when they don't feel comfortable holding that camera, it affects their ability to take their photos and stuff. It's like a negative thing that's happening. So I get that. But to me, you could eventually get used to it, but they just maybe are impatient on that. So that's number 1. That's the camera size. Number 2, battery life on mirrorless sucks. That's what they're telling me. Now, I do know from experience that, yes, battery life is shorter versus a DSLR. But what's the big deal about swapping out batteries? Oh, I'm in the middle of a wedding and I could miss a shot. Well, when I did weddings, if I was shooting mirrorless, I would have minimum of 3, maybe 4 batteries all charged, ready to go. And I would do this during the ceremony. You got a fresh battery. I'm taking all the shots. Okay, now we're taking a break because we're now going to do the group shots, family formals, that kind of stuff. I'm popping the battery out, putting in a fresh new one, and nothing's going to happen in the middle of taking group shots because I'm in a hurry because the priest says you got a half hour, and you got to go, go, go. And I don't want to be in the middle of a shot and all of a sudden the battery goes dead. I'm going to do that in advance. Then we go to the reception. I'm changing the battery before I get to the reception because I don't want to be in the middle of a dance or something really cool happened and I missed it because the battery went dead. So I swapped out the battery before I even start the shoot. So is the battery a big deal? For some it is. For me, it would never be that, but whatever. The viewfinder. They don't like the digital viewfinder. Now, I don't own a digital camera. Well, in a way, I mean, a mirrorless camera, I should say. I do own digital cameras, but I don't own a mirrorless one. Well, I don't own a professional one. I own a point and shoot version. This is a Canon G1X Mark III. In theory, it is a mirrorless camera. There's just no interchangeable lens. I basically use this when I go travel on vacation. I don't want to lug around my equipment, but I have used this in a studio just to prove that I can use a point and shoot here, put a wireless trigger on there, and use professional strobes, photographing a subject matter, a model, whatever, because it's not about the camera so much. It's about how you use your camera and the techniques and stuff, and then the way you edit that. That's more important than the actual camera itself. So I know that the electronic viewfinder feels a little weird versus a DSLR, and a lot of people don't like that, okay? And they feel better connected looking through a DSLR through the viewfinder than this right here, the digital one. I get it. Okay. So it is a little bit, uncomfortable. It does take a while to get used to. And a lot of people don't like to shoot like a cell phone, meaning they're doing this, when they're shooting, they're holding the camera this way. They're not looking through the viewfinder. They're holding it out like that and framing their shot. Well, some people like to do that. I get it. It's going to be, maybe a little shaky and stuff, but people feel more connected looking through the viewfinder, and they just don't like the digital one. Okay, next thing is if you're shooting in a studio, this has to do with professional strobes, and you're putting a wireless device on top, wireless trigger on your camera. And I've experienced this personally doing workshops or at a workshop, and we would say something like, okay, people, set your camera at 100 ISO, because our lights are set for that, at f8 as your f-stop, and make sure your shutter speed on your camera is set to your sync speed or below. Now, some people don't know what their sync speed is because they're new to, say, shooting in a studio with strobes. And so we have to either look it up or somebody can help them. But a lot of cameras, it's 200, some are as high as 250, some are lower, they're like 180. So a lot of times we'll just say, if you don't know your shutter speed, sync speed, I should say, just to be in the safe spot with your camera, and that is set it at 160. And that's what I generally shoot at, is 160 in a studio. But here's the problem. With a DSLR, I can hold that camera up, focus on the subject, and take my shot. With a mirrorless camera, when you go take a look at it, you can't focus on the subject because your frame is black, because your camera is set to what you see is what you get. And when you're in a low light situation in a studio and you're shooting at 100 ISO and you're shooting at 1/60th of a second, and f8, all of a sudden your screen is blank, and it's supposed to be blank or black, because if I know that if I'm shooting with a DSLR and I turn off my trigger and I take a shot, it should be a black frame, meaning the ambient light is not affecting my subject. So when the strobes go off, 100% of the light from the strobes are affecting my subject. The ambient light is not. So when you're looking through a mirrorless camera, you're seeing that black frame and you can't focus. And half the people are out in the hall trying to figure out, I said, you got to go in your menu system to change the setting so you got a live preview that you can focus on. So when you take the shot, it works. I don't know. What do I do? And I go, I don't know. I don't shoot mirrorless. I can't help you. Does anybody know the settings that are here to have a mirrorless camera? Oh, I do, but that person shoots Canon. They don't know where to go in a like Sony camera or a Nikon camera or a Fuji camera where you change that. I feel helpless. I can't help these people. But there is a setting there that you can change. So that's another reason why people that move from DSLRs to mirrorless hated that, because they like to do a lot of studio stuff, and they hate that they had to change it. To me, that's a little petty, but again, my opinion on that one. And then the very last thing is, if you come from, say, a Nikon environment or a Canon environment, I'm just using these as examples, and you have a whole series of lenses. Now those lenses don't work on your mirrorless camera. But you can buy an adapter. But a lot of the lenses you have might be from a third party, like Tamron and Sigma and stuff. And I've been finding from other people that said when they get their adapters, a lot of their lenses don't work properly, and the autofocus is slow or something compared to normal, and it just bothers them, and they don't want to spend the money on buying new lenses for a mirrorless camera. So that's a big negative. So those are the 5 reasons, top reasons, I should say, why people are moving from mirrorless back to DSLR. So let me repeat them really fast. Number 1, camera size is too small for them. Battery life is short. Digital viewfinder, they find it funky and weird versus a DSLR. Studio with strobes, if you don't know the settings, it's just very aggravating to work with that camera in a studio environment. And in buying adapters for the lenses that you have, versus, no, I got to go out and buy a whole bunch of new lenses. So those are the top 5 reasons. Are the deal breakers? Well, I guess it is for some people. For most people, it is not. Okay, so but there is a swing of people going back to DSLRs who move to mirrorless, and they find they sold the camera, they don't use it no more, and they move back to their DSLRs. Yeah, I know you can't buy certain models anymore. They don't care if it breaks, they'll buy a used one or something, but those are the 5 major reasons. Now, we're going to take a look at, we got a couple other topics to cover here, and that is, I'm going to talk about what is your vision and what does that mean, and that should be a dedicated topic, but I'm going to go through that really quick for you. All right, are we ready? Let's do it. Okay, the second issue came from, I got a few emails over the past few weeks, and people were making comments in the emails regarding, I keep hearing you say, what is your vision? What is your vision? Can you explain a little bit, what does that mean and stuff? So I think this should be a dedicated video that I'll do in the future. So I'm just going to quickly do this really fast. Occasionally I do workshops on Photoshop. And I used to do one for about 3 years here locally in Michigan, where it was once a week we would meet for 5 weeks straight. And it was like 3.5 hours every time we met once a week. And I was teaching different techniques in Photoshop basics that photographers would be interested in using a lot in their photography. And I said, be prepared on the very last day that the second half of that session, bring in a half a dozen of your images, and I'm going to have you work on, editing those images. And I'm going to walk around and assist you and help you with those images if you're stuck on something. So what I found out was, when we got to that point where people now are, opening up their images and they're going to work on it, some hands would start to go up and go, I'd walk over and I go, Steve, I don't know where to begin. I need help. And I would say this, okay, so what is your vision? In other words, where do you want to take that? We're starting here at point A. Where do you want to go to point B? What is your vision to go there? And they go, I don't know. And I have to pause and say, if you don't know your vision, I can't help you at all. And so I realized that I think we need to spend time on understanding, well, how do you create a vision? How do you know what it should be? And so I just think it should be a dedicated video. I don't want to do it on this one right here because this video is going to be long enough as it is. So for the ones that ask this question, I will make sure I'll do a dedicated video on how to build yourself up to understand, to know what your vision is. Because once you know your vision, I can help you with the proper tools and techniques to get you there. But I can't if you don't know what your vision is. So hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to pause on covering this in depth because, again, it should be a separate topic. All right, let's go to our next issue. And that is, again, I have to write this down, and it's going to be number 3. And that is, I talked about David Yarrow a few weeks ago. So let's get caught up on that. Are we ready? Let's do it. Okay, I got some emails that came in regarding, hey, whatever happened to that photo shoot you're going to do with, inspired by David Yarrow. So for the ones that don't know, a few weeks ago, I had a topic, and I'll put the link in the show notes, about inspiration. And inspiration, when you're inspired by somebody and their work or whatever, is not really inspiration unless you take action on it. Otherwise, you've just been entertained. So inspiration without any action is basically meaning you have been entertained. You're not really inspired, because inspired means, again, you're taking that action. So I have one of these books here on David Yarrow. He's a very well-known photographer, does incredible work. And I got inspired by watching some videos about how he works a little bit. And I got inspired by this shot that you'll see right here. I'll put on the screen. And so I talked about this in the past video, and I said, I'm going to go to, let me just put this down for a second. I'm going to get permission from a bar restaurant that I attend maybe a couple times a month. I got to know the manager over there, and I decided I'm going to try to do a photograph similar to what David Yarrow did, because I got challenged by a couple of photographers saying, wow, I really like that. Is that Photoshop, that fox or whatever that's in the picture? And I go, no, that's actually live animal, but I don't have access to an animal, and there's no way I'm going to bring that in, or be able to bring that in to a restaurant and stuff with the permits and all that. It's not going to happen at all. Well, they said, well, why don't you just Photoshop it in, make it a composite? And I go, oh, and they go, I think you could do it, can't you? And I go, you know what? Let me try that. Let's see if I can do it. So I got challenged to do that. So I'm acting on the inspiration of that image, and I did some behind the scenes video. It's coming, because some people are saying, whatever happened to that? I thought we'd be seeing it by now. I'm still working on it. One of the things I'm not good at, and that is doing behind the scenes type videos, because I'm a one-person show. So that is coming, and you'll see on how I did this, and we'll actually analyze the image. I'll break it down how I did it in Photoshop for you. But I'm also going to talk about how I actually set up the shot, because I promised them, because again, this is during work hours with their employees. And it'd be negative if I'm wasting a lot of time. So I said, I will do the whole thing in 1 minute or less. I promise you that. And that's exactly what happened. And so for the ones that are asking about whatever happened to that shoot, it will be coming. I'll have it done for you this September. Okay, so let's get into the last issue. And that is, oh boy, here we go with AI. Are we ready for this one? Let's get into it. Okay, the very last thing we're talking about is AI and how it's really coming on strong in the industry here. And it's going to happen whether you like it or not. There's a lot of negativity going on. But if you ever heard of Lindsay Adler, who I've known for quite a few years, she is a fashion and portrait photographer based out of New York for years. And she had shared with me that she has actually seen billboards throughout New York City that was totally done with AI at a fraction of the cost of hiring a company, say going out and shooting an advertising campaign or that. No photographer at all, 100% done with AI. Also, I saw a commercial by Airbnb, and that was all done and produced in AI. Can you imagine if you were in business producing commercials for products and services, and all of a sudden, at a fraction of the price, AI is doing it, and companies are using that because, again, it's all about this, and that is money. And some people might say, oh, I could tell it was done with AI. Consumers don't care. As long as their message comes across, the only ones that care are you if you're a video production person. Hollywood knows this. People are going to be able to produce 1.5 to 2 hour movies at a fraction of the price. It's not going to be millions and millions of dollars to build a movie with the actors and all the makeup artists and hairstylists and the scenery and all that kind of stuff. This is going to be done at a fraction of the price. Now, is that market totally going to go away? No, it's not, but it's going to be shrinking. Okay, so AI is really getting strong, and there are some really realistic stuff coming out. And I'm going to share some examples with you right here. I can't do the sound because there's music playing with it in the background, and I don't want to get dinged on copyright, infringements with music. So I'm just going to narrate over the top of it, but I'm just going to play segments of AI production done in videos. I mean, it is incredible. So let's take a look at it. AI is getting so realistic looking, and look at the detail of this. I mean, this looks authentic, and yet this is all AI. And as the story progresses, I just was editing out different segments for you guys, but the detail and everything is incredible with the sound effects and the dramatic music that was playing. By the way, music industry, writing music, this is going to be a tough one. Music videos, all that kind of stuff is really going to affect that business because you'll be able to produce this stuff at a fraction of the price. And AI is going to create the music and create the music videos. There's no artist. So look at the realism of this. This is incredible. Can you imagine what's going to happen in a year or two? How much better this will be. This is incredible stuff. Okay, so now you can see that now with video production, it is getting darn good, and it'll only get better. I mean, this stuff is exponentially improving as we go year over year. So it's going to be amazing what we're going to see in, say, 2 to 3 years from now. So what I would be concerned about is if you're in those industries, yes, it's going to be a shrinking market, okay? But is it going to affect you that go out and photograph like family? You're photographing kids, you're photographing families, you're doing weddings. I don't see that happening because it's about them, the reality of what's happening in life. Okay, that's still going to be viable. But if you're into commercial stuff, I mean, even, look at things that people are producing and showing landscape shots that don't even exist. It's all done with AI. So if you're a person that just trying to make a living selling landscape photography, and now AI is producing stuff that's just incredible, and you can't tell if it was actually done by a person or AI, that's going to affect you a bit. So I would just be aware of that. Anyhow, this news format, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you can do me a favor, and that is like the video, subscribe if you have not subscribed, and hit the notification bell next time I upload a video. Again, this format, just as a quick reminder, I'll do about once a month. That is just more of news information and addressing some issues that you people are presenting to me by my private email address right here. It's also in the show notes. And just a reminder, and occasionally, and I forgot to put this out, occasionally I get technical questions. Why is my program slow, or why is it crashing or not working? I don't know. I'm not a tech person. I can't help you there, but yet still people are flipping those issues out to me by my private email address there. So I am sorry. You just got to get back with the company that's making the softwares or whatever. I can't answer those kind of questions and issues. All right, people. So let's end this the way I normally do, and let's get that camera out and practice and make mistakes. Why? Because we learn from making mistakes, and let's literally, creatively think out of the box. Until next time, see ya.